you very much.
Thank you very much, Carol. A big story happening in Greece today, as we've been telling you, is a very important vote. We think it's going to be taking place around lunchtime on those austerity
London time,
measures.
although, as Martina Stevis, the Greek journalist, told us earlier, these things can slide. They want to do it earlier because, of course, the scenes we saw yesterday, the earlier it gets done, it'll be a lightning rod for those protests today, the timing of that vote. And what a vote it is. You either vote to impose incredibly unpopular austerity measures, or you vote no and default and make the country bankrupt. So a tough one. Yes, we've been hearing this morning about the ongoing protests in Athens over the proposed cuts to public services in the country. What is exactly happening today? Later today, the Greek Parliament will vote on a new austerity package, some £25 billion worth of cuts. Now, that has to pass for the EU and the IMF to sign off the latest bailout payments to Greece, about £10 billion worth. Then on July the 15th, the Greeks face their debt default deadline. Unless those measures are secured, Greece won't be able to make debt repayments and they will default. Well, earlier, Megan Greene, independent economist, and I looked at the yes scenario, what happens if they do, and I think we decided that all you do is delay the inevitable. What happens if the vote goes no today?
So if the vote gets defeated today, then Greece won't get its next tranche of funding. And as you mentioned, Greece has about $4 billion in debt to roll over by the middle of next month. So it would probably default on that debt. There is a chance some countries could get it together and put together some bilateral loans for Greece. But more likely, Greece would have to default. And if Greece defaults now with a primary deficit, which means that it's borrowing money just to run the government, it has two choices. It could either stop paying its entire public sector, which in Greece would be, would cause massive civil unrest, could cause civil war even, or it could leave the Eurozone, reissue the drachma, and devalue its currency.
OK, and what does that... I mean, that sounds like you're talking about civil war, civil unrest. What then happens? Do we have then a credit crunch? Because the banks then would go bust. There's French and German banks are owed billions by that. And then our banks here in the UK have exposure to French and German banks. What then happens? How do the dominoes topple?
That's right. There would then be contagion throughout the European and, in fact, the global banking sector, just based on exposure to Greek government debt directly. But also investors will immediately ask, if Greece defaults, well, who's next? And the answer to that is Portugal and Ireland. And, the UK in particular has an interest in Ireland not defaulting, given how massive its exposure to Irish debt is. But it is possible Ireland will look at Greece and think, well, we can go through a few more years of pain and austerity, or we can do what the Greeks just did, default on our debt, clear the decks, and return to growth. And so if Ireland were to default, the UK would be hit really hard.
Because we've got hundreds of billions of pounds worth of loans to Ireland, which would then be jeopardised.
That's right. On top of which, the UK is really staking its economic recovery on reforming its economy away from financial services towards exports. And overwhelmingly, the majority of exports are going to the Eurozone. And if you have peripheral countries starting to peel out of the Eurozone and defaulting, leaving the Euro, then the Eurozone could break up.
So terrible consequences there. But the Greek politicians, some Greek politicians are saying, look, all we're doing is making this country, we're impoverishing our own citizens, we're asking them to go through hell, just so a few bankers don't lose some interest on their bonds. That's just not fair, and this can't go on.
Yeah, there's some truth to that argument in that, they're essentially bailing out French and German banks and other banks in the core, but also Greek banks are very heavily exposed to Greek government debt. And so these bailout programs are also bailing out Greek banks, without which the Greek banking sector would completely crumble. OK. Megan, thank you very much indeed. A huge vote. We think 1 o'clock London time, UK time, and a really crucial moment in the history of the Eurozone and the euro, the single currency.
All right.
Thanks
very much.
We'll be live in Athens after 8 o'clock, by the way.
Going north, though, now. One of the